Hey, how's it going? Welcome back to the channel. This one just looked like a fun one. Not gonna have too much of an intro here. It just looked fun. It's called Orange Juice by Gnubeutel. As you can tell, it looks like it's a cup of orange juice. So that said, let's take a look at these rules and see what's going on here. So normal Sudoku rules apply. So as usual, every row, every column, and every 3x3 box contains the digits 1 through 9 once each. Now we've got a couple of Dutch rule sets here. So we've got Dutch Flatmates. So each 5 needs to have either a 1 directly above it or a 9 directly below, or both. Now, I think we've used this one before in a puzzle, or have had this rule set before. It's not one I'm super familiar with because I don't see it very often, but essentially means that wherever you have a 5, let's say there's a 5 here, it means that you either have a 1 directly above it, a 9 directly above or below it, or both the 1 above and the 9 below, and that's it. Then we have Dutch Whispers. So digits adjacent on an orange line have to be at least 4 apart. All of these lines are orange. So whatever this digit is, this one has to at least be 4 away from it in its value. And then we've got Kropki Dots. So digits connected with a black dot have to be in a 1:2 ratio, and digits connected with a white dot have to be consecutive. Not all dots are given. So the black dot's 2:1 ratio. Whatever this guy is, this one has to be double or half of it. And then the white dot constraint is these guys have to be consecutive. And that's it. So pretty short and sweet there in terms of getting into this puzzle. But let's get started. See if we can get figured out. So where are we going to start? I'm taking a second here to ponder. I guess we can start in black Kropki dot land, because it seems like we've got some instances where we're going to have some restrictions. So we know this has to be, well, first off, black Kropki dots. We know they can't have 5, 7, or 9 in them because you can't have or double either of those digits, or any of those digits, and have a valid Sudoku in a normal Sudoku. So the only options here for are 1, 2, 2, 4, 4, 8, or 3, 6. Now, clearly this cannot be of the 3, 6 variety, because if you put a 3 or a 6 in any one of these, we're going to have to double or repeat the other digit and break Sudoku. So these have to be from 1, 2, 4, and 8, and this can never be the extreme digit, so it can't be 1 or 8. Now, if this is a 2, I don't think it really limits what this can be. Let's think about that for a second before we start looking at these other ones. Try to root out as much as I can in the place where I decide to start instead of jumping around, see if that does any good. So if this is a 2, this could easily be a 1. This could be a 4 and a 1, and that would go over to a 2. Well, does that work? Let me say that again. If this is a 2 and this is a 1, we get 4, 1, 1, no, 2, sorry, 2, go up from 1, up to 2, and then up to 4. But the 2 and the 4 are not 4 apart from each other, so that would not work. So maybe that's kind of where we need to look closer, is these just have to be a 4-8 pair. And that will help us out immensely, I think. Because the black Kropki on the Dutch Whisper is, you combine the 2 together, it's going to make some serious restrictions that I hadn't thought about until I went into this little experiment here as to figure out what could work. So obviously this can't be a 1, 2, and it can't be 2, 4, and it can't be 3, 6, because none of those are 4 apart. So this just is a 4, 8, which means this is not a 4, 8. So this is either going to be 1, 2, 4 or 2, 4, 8, which means this is not a 1 or a 2. Now, this can't be a, well, that's not true. If this is a 2, I think what we're going to say is this has to just be a 3. Because if this is a 2, it can't go down to 1 because it won't be able to meet up with a 4 or an 8. So it would have to go up to a 3. If it's a 4, well, that's not true. Okay, I'm glad I think these things instead of just saying them and then doing things. So this could be 3 or 5 is what the answer is going to be, because if it's 2, it has to go up to 3. If it's 4, it could go down to 3 and then back up to 4, or it can go from 4 up to 5 and back down to 4. But either way, this is going to be a 4, and this is going to be the 8. And this digit is going to have to be 4 away from 8, and it can't be 4, so it's going to have to at least be 5 away from 8, actually. So we're looking at a 1, 2, 3. And if you can hear that outside, I don't know if you can. I've got my window open because it's a breezy day from the remnants of Hurricane Milton, which luckily did not hit us. I said this in my last video, I'll say it again. If you are affected by Hurricane Milton, I hope you guys are staying safe, because that thing was a beast that went through Florida. Anyway, let's get back on track here for a second. So if this is a 1, 2, or 3, this has to be from 1, 2, or 3. This has to be from 1, 2, 3, or 4. Now again, no, we can't say that, can we? Well, we can make some reductions, I think, in this digit as it pertains to this guy. Because again, we know this is a situation just like this was, where it can't be 1, 2, can't be 2, 4, and it cannot be 3, 6. So this is 4, 8, which means this can never be a 1 or a 3. Therefore, this can never be a 2. And does that just mean this has to be a 2? Because this is either a 1 or a 3. The only thing that can be consecutive with either of those two is the 2. Because if this is a 1, this has to be a 2. If this is a 3, this has to be a 2. So this is 2, which means this is 1, 2, 4. And that 2 then puts a 3 here. And then that 3 is going to come over here and put a 1 down. And then that 1 is going to put a 2 down, which is going to put a 4, 8, 4. And this guy must be either 3 or 5. Now, unlike German Whispers, we cannot rule out a 5 on... we can't rule it out immediately on the Dutch Whisper, because we can always put a 1 or a 9 next to it. Now, we can't ever put a 1 next to it because of the specifics of the Sudoku, but these technically could both be 9s. Now, we can look back here, perhaps, and then make a determination here, because we know now this has to at least be 4 away from 8. So it's going to be the same situation we had down here. This has to be from 1, 2, or 3. This has to be 4 away from 1, 2, or 3. So at the bare minimum, it's a 5, 6, 7, or 9. Now, again, we cannot quite make an assertion here, because if this is a, well, we can reduce what these can be, because whether this is a 3 or a 5, this can never be a 5. Whether this is a 3 or a 5, this can't ever be a 6 or a 7. Well, no, it can be a 7, because the 3 could go with the 7. It'd be 4 away from it, so we can stay there. Okay. Now, that said, this digit is going to be constrained a little bit. We know it has to be 4 away from 7 or 9, which means it's from the possibilities of 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, but it cannot be 1, 2, or 4. So it's a 3 or a 5, but it's on a black Kropki, and a black Kropki can never have a 5, as we stated previously. So this is a 3, which means this is a 6. Now, that still doesn't rule anything out, because this could still be a 7 or a 9. At least in this particular portion of this part of the solve, it cannot be. Now, I'm wondering if we're going to get anything else over here, or if we need to start looking around. Because this guy here, let's look here, he has to be at least 4 away from that. So it's either 5, 6, 7, or 9 again. Now, it can't be 5, 6, or 7. Oh, it can be 7, sorry. 5 or 6 as the exact same reasoning why. This one could not be. We can also continue to look up the side of our cup here, say that this has to at least be 7, and it can't be 7 or 9 because it's on a black Kropki dot, so therefore it must be 8, and if this is 8, this must be 4, and if this is 8, this has to go down to the 1, 2, 3, 4, well, it can't be 4 because it's 4. And therefore this guy is 1, 2, 3, or 4, and it has no restrictions at the moment. But we can look at this guy now and continue across the top of our OJ and say it has to be at least 4 away from 4, so it has to at least be 8, but we've already used the 8, so this is 9. And then again, we have to come back down. So 1, 2, 3, well, not 1 because of this one, not 4 because of these 4s, and then 5 is the other option. 5 cannot go on it because of the black Kropki again. So we end up either having this be a 2, which could go down to a 1. It can't go up to the 4, obviously, or this is a 3 and this goes to a 6. Now, I think if we look here and we start moving our way back up here, we might end up getting to this point and being able to make some reductions as well. So this 3 has to at least be 4 away, so it has to be 7 or 9. So we get a 7-9 pair here. And does anything with that help us? Let's take a quick look. So we do have some Sudoku, it looks like, is kind of cropping up, but I'm not sure they're quite to the point where we're going to really be able to use that effectively. Yeah, I don't see how it's going to work just yet. So let's continue up our line and see if we can get something figured out. So we've got either 7 or 9. So again, we're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, and it can't be 1 or 4. The problem is this one can still be a 2. Well, it's not really a problem. It's 1 extra digit now. So we can't have our 3-5 pair. Again, it doesn't feel like it's going to do a whole lot for us at the moment, but it is what it is. I think as we keep moving up here, we're going to have some issues. Now, the other thing we have to remember is the Dutch Flatmates. So wherever I put a 5, I'm going to have to either put a 1 above it or a 9 below it. Now, the problem is that, and again, I keep saying it's a problem. It's not a problem. It's just something that we don't quite have enough of. We can easily put a 1 above this as a 5. Oh, no, we can't actually. Think about it, because we look at this guy. If this is a 1, this has to be a 2, and that breaks. But the other thing to say is that if this is a 5, this could easily be a 9. And what does that do for us? I was starting to look into here because it seems like there are some restrictions as to what these guys can be. And they're consecutive digits, but we know there can't be a 1 on either of them because this is a 1 seeing it directly, and this 2 points out that it can't go there. Now that means that there's a 1 in one of these guys. But again, there's not enough to rule out that it could go down here and not be on our black Kropki. Oh, okay, here we go. The 4s, they're giving us more information than I thought they would. We have to have a 4 on this black Kropki, so there cannot be a 1 on it. So let's get rid of that. Now we know it can't be a 4 that goes with an 8, so it is a 2-4 pair, which means this can't be a 2. Now we do have our 3-5. And of course we know that one of these has to be a 9 to go with the 5, but we don't know at the moment which one that is. Now, can we do anything with these guys? Because we only have 4 digits left in this region, and we know that both of them must be consecutive. And we've already used 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 up. So we know one of these is 6, which means one of these is 7. And the other option is an 8-9 pair, which could go anywhere. I think that would be accurate to say. Yeah, because 9s and 8s don't seem to have any reduction in either one of these. And I think once we figure out, either we're going to figure out which one of these is our 9, and that's going to tell us what the 9-8 is, or we're going to figure out which one of these is the 9-8, and that's going to tell us what these guys are. So, all right, let's continue with our looking of Dutch Whispers. Now, we know these guys Well, they can be 6, 8, or 9. Can it? Well, yeah, that can be all of those possibilities. Because if this is a 2, these can be any of those groupings, 6, 8, or 9. And, oh, in fact, actually, we do know what it is. This is one of these two is a 6, so this one cannot ever be a 4. So let's put that in. This is 2 and 4. But then I think we're still at the crossroads where we don't know which one is the 8 or the 9, because these could be from 6, 8, or 9. There's no determination there that I can see at the moment. Okay, now let's look up here again, because maybe this will get a 7, 9 pair similar to what we got down here. Maybe we won't. Now the problem is this guy could be a 1. We don't have the restriction that we had over there. So this is, it could be a 1, or it gets up into the 7, 8, 9 territory. And again, we can't reduce our 8 either. Now, if this is a 9, we end up having, well, this could either be a 1, 6 like this, or it could be a 5, 1 in that instance, so I don't know that that's useful. Now, if this is a 1, this breaks, doesn't it? Because if this is a 1, this has to at least be a... No, it doesn't break, because this could be 1... No, it can't be. Can't be 1, 5, 1, obviously. So if this is a 1, it has to go high. And it would have to be... And then nothing here will work in that instance, because, you know, like I said, 1, 5, 1, obviously the 1s see each other. If we go up to 6, we have a 1, 6 pair that breaks this. If we go up to 7, 8, or 9, we have to have this be a 6, and 6 is not 4 away from any high digit, so this can't be 1. I'm wondering if there is going to be a way that we're reducing these down, excuse me, so that is a 7, 9 pair. So let's look at our 8s real quick. If this is an 8, what does that say this is? It doesn't. Okay, it didn't quite get enough to get us there. Yeah, because if this is an 8, this could still be down to a 1. Let's just look at what are the options here. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and it can't be 2 or 3. The 4 never works because of this 1, 6 pair. So what we end up is we're either doing the 9, 5, 1, or we're doing one of these digits going down to a 1, then back up to a 6. So, and no, I'm not going to answer the phone when it's a scam. Thank you very much. So we must have something. Let's do a quick peek at our Sudoku here, just to see if we can figure anything out. So none of these can be a 1. I think that actually is a good idea now, because we know one of these two has to be a 1. It can't be a 6, 5 pair, so this can't be a 1. So this is. And what does that do? Anything else we can get out of that? We know one of these is a 1. We know none of these can be 1s. But that doesn't rule out any of these, okay. What about some other digits that are here? The 2s don't look like they're going to do much for us. Either do the 3s, really. I mean, one of these is a 3. And 4s, there were quite a few 4s, so maybe they were a good place to look. You know, one of these is a 4. Okay, that's actually where I had looked previously. I don't think I verbalized it, but I think I noticed that the 4s would be very restricted in here. So none of these can be 4s. So this is 4. Therefore, none of these can be 4. So one of these is 4. Again, it didn't quite get us anything special because we still have an X-wing and 4s left over. 5s, we don't have any. 6s, we don't really have any. 7s, we don't have any. 8s, we don't really have enough, I don't think, to go too deep. Get out of there. Yeah. Okay, and then 9s, we only have the 1. So let's go back to looking at other bits of logic that we can do. This Kropki dot is not quite to the point where we can really do much from it. We know it can't be from 1, 2, 3, or 4, but it could be 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9 in almost any of those. This Kropki dot doesn't really seem like it has much doing for it either. Now, let's think about that a little bit in terms of what this guy does. And then we'll come back to our... well, maybe we need to look at the Dutch Flatmates a little bit further. Because... oh, I don't know that it's quite there to the stage where we can do this. Because we know we have to have... okay, maybe we can put a 5. Because we know we have to put a 5 in this region. So now it either has to have a 1 directly above it or a 9 below it. Well, if we put a 5 down here, we can never put a 1 above it or a 9 below it. So this has to be a 5. Does that do anything more for us? Means that none of these can be 5s. This can't be 5. So one of these two is a 5. If this is the 5, this would have to be 6, and the 9 would have to be here. But if this is the 5, the 1 satisfies the rule. None of these can be 5s. Okay, these two can't be 5s because we'd have to be able to put a 1 above, and they can't because the 1's already over here. So this is 5. Okay, so we're actually getting a little bit more than I thought we would for the Dutch Flatmates here. So I'm glad I took a look at them instead of waiting till later. Where else do we have issue with 5s, or we have to find where the 5 goes? One of these is a 5. I don't see anything how we can really make that work. How about up here? Because none of these can be 5, so we can never have 5 here because we can't put a 9 directly below it. We can't put a 1 above it, and we can't put a 5 here either because we wouldn't be able to put a 9 below it. So this is a 1-5 pair, and that is now going to be enough to break this open. So this is 3, which means this is 5. Now this 5 must have its 9 below it. So there we go. And now that we know the 9 can't go up here, we know this is our 9-8 pair, which means this is 6 and 7. Let's get rid of those, put our 9-8 in, and that's going to give us this digit, which must be 6, and then this one has to be a 3. Okay. Now we're going to know what these 3 digits must be. They are from 6 and 7. And these 3 are going to be 2, 3, and 8. Okay. Little bits here that are helping, which is nice. None of that actually... well, we got a 7, 8, 9 triple. We know one of these has to be a 3. So this can't be a 3 anymore. We know there has to be... we have to have a 5 in this row somewhere. We know one of these has to be a 5. But the 5 up here could be multiple places. 3's over here. We need to... the 1 and the 2... not enough can be ruled out of the 1s and 2s, I don't think, at the moment. Okay, so now this is a 5. Let's go back to our Dutch Whispers. This has to just be 9. If this is 9, we said this is either a 1-6 or 5-1. Let's look over here. This is 8 and 9. Let's just put that in for now. And this is a 7. Can we determine this guy? If it's not a 5, we wouldn't be able to put a 5 here. Could we put a 5 here? I think we can, because no, we can't, because we can't put a 1 above it, and we wouldn't be able to put a 9 above there. So the only thing, oh, this one can't be a 5 either, because we can't put a 1 above it, because it's a 4, and we couldn't put a 9 below it, because the 9's over there. So this just has to be 5. Okay, so again, the flatmates did come in handy. This has to be 5, this has to be 1, this has to be 2. There we go. Now, let's look back over. Is there anything over here we could have done? No, because the 1 and the 2 both still work perfectly fine there. How about up here? We know we have to at least be 4 away from 1. So we're looking at 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Can this ever be a 5? No, because we can't put a 1 above it because of this. We can't put a 9 below it. So let's get rid of that. If this is a 9, it forces the 5 up. Let's just look in this region. Where can a 5 go? Can't go here. It can't go here. It could go here if this was the 9, like I said. Can it go here? No, it can't, because this can't be a 1, this can't be a 9. So the 5 is in one of these two. I guess we could have just kind of, well, no, not necessarily. I couldn't necessarily rule those out that way. But that 5 actually does give us a 1 and a 5 here. And now we know one of these has to be a 5, which means that one of these has to be a 9. So this has to be a 9-8 pair, which means this is not 6 or 7. Now that 9-8 is going to do some work as well. We get 3 and 8. There can't be a 3 in here anymore, which means this can't be 4, which means this is 4, and we get a 1-2 pair. And what do we have left over? This has to be 4 by base Sudoku. This has to be from 6 or 7, because that's all that's left in the row, and we have a 7. So this is 6, and this is going to be a 9. Now that 6 is going to give us our 7 and our 6. Good. We are moving quite nicely on this one. These two, we have to have a 1 somewhere. It can't be there. So let's put it here. 2, 1. This is a given digit of 8, which gives us our 9 and our 8. We need to have what left here? This 1 gives us a 2. These two digits have to be from 5 and 9. We already got those. So this is 5, this is 9. So again, we have 5 covered the 1 and the 9. Same with over here. This guy, he had it above. This guy, he had it above, etc. Okay. These 3 digits are from 3 and 1. So we know this is 3, this is 1. These guys, we need a 2, a 6, and a 7. 2, 6, 7. This can't be 2. Okay. Not great, but not terrible. What about these 3 digits? We need a 3 in here somewhere. It could go anywhere. We need a 5 somewhere. It's got to be one of these two, and it cannot be up here, so we wouldn't have a 9 below it or a 1. So this is 5. And what are the last 3? We said 3 and 7. Could be either or at this stage. What about these guys? We need 3, 6, and 7. I don't think that's going to do much for us. No. Okay. What about... I'm going to do a couple more rows and columns here before we jump just into straight Sudoku, because I think we're pretty much at Sudoku stage now. Okay, we can't... Where does the 3 go in this column? These two see this, so it puts a 3 over here, and it says these are 7, 3 in this way. These have to be 6 and 8. We've got that over here, so 6, if I can hit the button, and 8. These have to be from 7 and 9. Not able to determine yet. So let's jump into just Sudoku. we should be pretty much done with this thing. We just have to this is a 2-5. Actually, this just is the 5 because a 5 must have a 9 below it. Therefore, this is 2. Therefore, this is 7, which means this is 6 and 3. We could have gotten some of the other ways, but that's fine. It worked how it worked. This has to be a 6 because of that 7. These are not. That 2 puts the 7 here, 7 and 2. This is a given digit of 8. This is a given digit of 6. This has to be a 5, because it's the only thing consecutive with 6, because the 7's up here, which means the 9 has to go below the 5 to satisfy our Dutch Flatmates. This has to be 7, therefore we have a 9 and a 7, and there we go, you saw the puzzle. Solution is correct. Wow, this one was 40 days old. I didn't think it was that long ago. I must have had this thing set up here for a little while. But anyway, excellent puzzle. Really enjoyed that one. Good concept. I like the Dutch Flatmates and the Dutch Whispers working together, which I don't think I've seen. And like I said, I don't typically see Dutch Flatmates puzzles either. So anyway, hope you all enjoyed this one. If you did, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks a lot.